Usually when someone thinks of Telluride in its past, they picture skiing and mining. However, this is not the full history of the area. The first part of the story became before 1870. The first inhabitants of the Telluride region were the Ute Native Americans who called themselves the Nuchu. They didn't permanently live in the valley, but it was still a valuable resource to the Utes, where they would collect food and materials in the warmer seasons, then move down to lower elevations for the winter. They had a very low-impact lifestyle utilizing the land. For example, they would go and kill the beavers for their pelts and meat, but then wait a year for them to repopulate so they wouldn't run out of that resource. This is very different from the miners who had a very high-impact lifestyle using every resource that was available until it was exhausted. They believed strongly in civilization and development. Because of these vast differences between the cultures, the two couldn't seem to work peacefully in this area, so there are conflicts between the two groups. Art Goodtimes explained one conflict.
Here you had a minister who felt very strongly that these people should be working and should be civilized and should not be gambling and should not be horse racing. And really the incident that caused his death was him instructing his people to plow up the racetrack that they used. And they loved racing horses. That was one of their, it would be like turning off our TV in the middle of a Broncos game. That was pissed them off. They were really mad. And so they got into an argument and one of the Indians killed Meeker.
In the end, the Utes were forced out of their land by the miners.
They were not happy. They didn't want to go. They dragged their feet for as long as they could until Mackenzie, who was a pretty mean and fierce dude, gave them one day to leave. They had to leave tons of their horses. They had to leave a lot of their possessions. So in the end, they didn't prepare for the leaving. They just sort of had to move at the last minute. And again, they were told they were going to be going to one place and then they were moved somewhere else.
Could they have worked together?
Would we have been able to live in harmony? It's hard to know, but it's unlikely. You know, I think the clash was almost inevitable.
If you go to Flagstaff, I mean, as far as cultural mixing happening right now, that's where there's, and the Navajo Nation is so much larger than the Ute up here, but you see that mixing everywhere in Flagstaff. And in a modern sense, yeah, there could be a mix, and that's what I see a place like Telluride, and I go, well, this is cool, beautiful, lots going on here, but where are the Utes?
The Utes are still here, but in fewer numbers on a reservation. In February, Goodtimes went to the reservation to make a formal apology to the close descendants of the Utes that were forced from their land 134 years ago. A long-deserved apology. Some people cried, but none were overly happy. Is our apology too late? We can't undo what we have done, but can we reconcile with these people? I hope so, because without this, we are not a whole community, because the Utes are an essential part of our past that cannot be forgotten.